Check one,
mic.
two. Check one,
Check
two.
mic. Hey guys, welcome back for another episode of the GhettoRig podcast. This is episode 174. For those who don't know, my name is Eddie. To my left, we have my co-host Jay. Behind the cameras today, we got Miguel. And we got a guest in the house, familiar face from before. Haven't had him in a while, but Mr. Felix Rafael Rojas.
Hello.
Felix is, well, actually, I'll let Felix do a little introduction of himself here. He hasn't been on the pod in a little while, so.
Yeah, like, I think I was here probably on the, like, one of the first top, 10 episodes,
Yeah,
It was back
it
in
was
the
definitely
day.
in the beginning. We had you on more than once, though.
Yeah, I think twice, I don't know what I did wrong, but thank you guys for having me again here. Like, I mean, you guys, thank you again. I'm like close friends with Eddie and, Miggy and Jay. It's definitely a blessing, being here. I know you guys have been putting a lot of effort, like putting this project together, and I'm very happy to be here, Just to introduce myself again, I'm Felix. Um, like, I guess I've been in the country for, last 5 years.
Damn, it doesn't feel like 5 years,
Yeah,
bro.
man, we
It
share,
doesn't feel like that long.
like, other than the fact that we are like, like now family, obviously we share like passions together, hobbies together, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yep.
And this is what
Aggressively
had
hugging each other.
Yeah,
AKA aggressively hugging each other.
involuntary yoga, man. That's what
Yeah.
it is. So yeah, that's obviously has kept us even closer
And injured.
and injured,
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we're here. It's been like quite a journey, and
That's bad PR, Miggy.
I'm-
Saying injured is bad PR.
I'm
I'm just being
definitely-
real, man.
I'm definitely excited and happy that I was like able to like like put that energy and passion of the sport that I love, like to these guys as well. And I'm just happy to seeing, like your journey, man. Especially yours, Eddie, starting, relatively like less than a year ago, and like killing it, bro. I've heard like stories that you were killing it, which I love it.
Yeah, it doesn't
So,
feel that way, but
Miggy, Felix, fill us in. Now it's been probably close to a year since you were on a pod, a little bit less maybe, right?
Yeah,
But during this year, there've been a lot of changes in your own life, right? Moving towards the American dream, right?
yeah.
Whether it was getting more comfortable with the new job that you have, whether it's getting comfortable buying a beautiful home for your family. Can you walk us a little bit through that? How did that all come around? I know it was a long time in the making. What are the feelings that you have right now where it is the American dream, right? The white
Yeah.
picket fence, the kids, the wife,
That's actually a very good question. It is the American dream, like obviously buying a house, but again, I told you, this is how I started my story. You asked me to introduce myself. I came here like 5 years ago, back in 2019. I came to the States because I had a job offer, honestly, because I was living in DR. And I mean, I hate saying this because, people think about this third world countries as like a piece of shit, but honestly, I was living like a king back in DR.
But
right.
just to give the viewers an idea is when you say a third, yeah, it can be a third world. You know what? Those shithole countries. It could be one of those countries, but you still have layers of people that live in there.
Yeah.
You have people that live bad, you have people that live okay, and you have people that live good. You're still gonna have the layers. Yeah, my layers might be bigger on a worse side, but you still have the layers, right? So
Yeah, doesn't mean you're not gonna see an exotic car or something like that.
yeah, and matter of
people
fact,
with a lot of money.
talking about exotic cars, DR is probably one of the number one importer of exotic cars in the world.
It is. It is.
So it's not that there's no money there. There is money there, but it's concentrated probably in the hands of
Very few.
very few.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, you had a pretty comfortable life in DR, right? And then you come, and you did the American dream, right? Like the best way I can describe it is like if you look at people from Norway, Denmark, they're rated a little bit less on a testosterone level. They're more communitarian, so on and so forth. But if you look at America, everyone that had maybe a little bit higher testosterone level, they said, you know what? I'm gonna leave everything back home. I'm gonna go to this new land and I'm gonna try to conquer it and make something out of it, right? And you're one of those people, right? That came into clearly, it's not Wild Wild West anymore, but there's an infrastructure now. But you say, you know what? I'm gonna leave this good that I have here and I'm going to move to another country, know absolutely nothing about the country. I do have a job offer here and there, but I don't know anything. What made you do that? What made you pull the trigger?
Yeah, that's a tough thing to do, man.
Yeah. Like honestly, I mean, I think you started it right. I was living an executive life, like working with a dream job, to put it this way. I was one of those executive, like every 10, 12 days, like hopping on a plane, different, and like visiting different countries and stuff like that.
Not just different cities in the American Republic, different countries,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I was like dealing with all Latin America, global duty free, So again, this is like flying everywhere on like first class and stuff like that. So I couldn't complain. Obviously there's like stages and layers for everything, as you say. Like in my case particularly, I got married when I was 28. Like I had my first son when I was 30. So I lost a lot, especially with my oldest son. I was never there. I was never there when he started, crawling or walking or has said dad for the first time, which by the way was dad. Okay. um, so yeah, I lost a lot because of my job, and I mean that made me not hate it, but honestly, I was not that big of a fan like anymore.
Didn't
But
appreciate it so much.
yeah, because I like like the role of a male is to provide. This is what they put on our heads. This is what it is. But like things have changed a lot now. It's they're asking for like balances in a
Well,
house
can I just jump in? I don't think it's the role of the male is provide. I think the role of the guy, yeah, it is provide, but there's a little more to it. I think it's more like you do all these things in life so people can depend on you.
Yeah.
That's literally why we do what we do, in my opinion. So people can depend on you.
You just said provide in a different way.
Yeah. But it's not because when you say provide, a lot of people get their pennies in a bunch and say, "Well, I can work too. You know, you don't have to be a guy
Those
to
are
earn
people
money."
that have evoked emotions based
Yeah.
off words. So
We literally do all this shit so people can depend on us. Like if we didn't have anybody to depend on us, we'd live in a cardboard. And I've said this before: we'd live on a cardboard box, sleep on the floor, not have any paintings on the wall.
But you gotta have like a clear mentality on that, like especially when you're on a macho type of society, the fact that your wife or a female making more money than you, like in a house, like you're not you don't feel right, it's like we were raised like to be providers. That's the end of story. So back when I was home, again, I had the dream job or whatever, and I was like kind of lure about always exploring. I was a U.S. citizen, my entire life, so it's like what is it for me next? It's um like I
So
started
you
I
what
started
do you
my
mean you were a U.S. citizen your entire life?
I mean, I was born a U.S. resident, honestly,
Okay.
but I spent, many years with U.S. resident. But I was always, I always had the opportunity
Okay, I got
to
what you're
be
saying.
working and living in the
In the
United
U.S.
States, and I just didn't take it. That was the end of story.
Which is kind of cool because a lot of times a lot of people come in from a different country and they have to start everything from the bottom. But here's an example where you didn't have to start from the bottom. You kind of transition, maybe not at the same level, but you did transition within the same industry.
Yeah,
Not only the same industry, pretty much having the same type of environment, right?
yeah. So that was like my kind of situation, on which I was comfortable doing what I was doing, and when I first started my professional like career like in DR, I started working for a couple of multinationals there. So I even started working, for as a marketing trainee for big multinationals, well structured like programs in which they pretty much change and swap you to different roles until you get a certain managerial position. Um, so I started like layers by layers and layers, doing, I mean, you know the colmado situation, the mom and pop shops in
Mm-hmm.
DR, you know. So I was like, I started like doing all that, like going to all these like mom and pop shops. My personality, always
I,
like happy. It's like,
I don't
hey,
think we've mentioned.
how are you guys doing? And the guy chopping a fucking chicken in front of me. I made myself getting all covered in blood and stuff like that. The guy with the hands all dirty, but like, man, I did what I had to do at that point.
But I don't think we mentioned. So you mentioned it before, but it was in alcohol sales, right?
No, that was before. I'm
So
I'm, I'm like trying to like wrap up like how I started and
Coming to here, yeah.
and coming to here.
So how did the opportunity that was the one that finally had you come over here present itself? And then after that opportunity presented itself, what was it that helped you finally make the final decision to
yeah,
actually come over here?
Yeah, so when I started working again, like doing what I did and that role as a marketing trainee, I passed through all the possible like positions as far as like I was a sales rep, I was a um organized groceries and convenience like like rep and stuff. I was on the on premise side on the Horeca, which is hotels, restaurant, cafeteria, bars. So I did a little bit of everything. So at a certain point, I was like, okay, I'm a manager here in this company for a big multinational. I'm happy here, but I need a higher role. So this is where I, started working for a company on which I wanted to do something different. So I started working for, believe it or not, it was a chicken bouillon company. You know the bouillons like the
Mm-hmm.
cubes,
Yeah.
which is absurd and ridiculous. But at the end of the day, like DR is the one of the top, per capita consumption
Of those,
countries
yeah.
of chicken bouillon. I think it's number two in the world. The number one is Haiti. Okay, So I was working for on the development and enhancement of wholesalers and distributors on a bigger scale now. This is like big business, okay? And then I was doing that for a while, broke records, like working on that company as well. And then I had the opportunity of working for in the wine and spirits industry, pretty much doing the same role. Because at first I started working on the, sales side, marketing side. Marketing was always my passion. Then I started working on the sales side, and I finally realized that like if you want to be rounded, you need, and especially in sales, you need a marketing background like overall. So now when you're in enhancing and developing distributors, you know, and you're in charge of like specific units as far as like countries, you need to know like marketing because you're in charge of all the marketing like in order for promote the brand and grow the brand
In
in
those
all those
different
countries.
areas, yeah.
So I started working for Barcelona Rum in DR, which is the fourth largest exporter rum brand in the world, right? And working there, I had the privilege of like working with like exclusive distributors all across Latin America, you know, developing the brand in each particular country. So I had that background, all right? So I was working in that industry for a long while, for that particular company. I was there for like 6 years, 6.5 years. And then, me being, again, a U.S. citizen, with the opportunity of working here, I had this like company based here out of Oldsmar. Um, they pretty much requested my services, like they made me a job offer that I could not refuse. But I was honestly, it was a good offer, but I was greedy. I thought about the U.S. as a big stepping stone in my career. This is the land of opportunities. Let me come here and make it great. But having that said, my wife was working as a HR director for a big pharmaceutical. She was working. She was very productive. She was happy in that job. It was a long conversation. There was a lot of tears involved, on her like dropping everything just for her to come here and become a full-time mom, and a soccer mom, like pretty much.
Yeah.
So I came here in 2019, um, and I started working in that industry. It was doing the same thing, wine and spirits, but strictly for the Caribbean region. Okay. Remember that I was working all Latin America, but global duty free. But now it's strictly for the Caribbean region. Okay. And I was there, probably two years and 8 months or so. And we all know what happened with COVID and all that. And if you are working strictly for the Caribbean region, then you should understand that at a certain point there was like no flights, no cruises, no tourism whatsoever. The majority of these islands are all dependable
On tourism, like
on
ours.
tourism
Yeah.
because a lot of those are just a floating population of people coming in and out.
I
So
think I looked up the numbers recently, and over half. I think it's like over 10 million people visit DR. Like
I
as
think it was
tourists.
11
Do-
million.
Yeah.
They broke a record last
DR
year.
is the number one country right now by tourism in entire Latin America.
No, it's actually
Number
the
one country.
it's actually the second
Second
after Mexico.
after
Mexico
Okay.
Mexico's like 24 million. So the
Yeah.
difference is widespread. But
Well,
like,
that's probably because of
But
California.
I was
'cause they
looking
can
at
just
it.
use
What's
their
the
driver's license and
population
cross.
of Dominican Republic?
11 million?
yeah, 11 million.
11 million.
Yeah, because I remember it was yeah. So as many tourists as we get is as many people
Yeah,
as we have.
it's double the amount of people always on the island.
And again, the R has done a lot like to get where they're at right now. Like they were especially with COVID, there was like among one of the first countries like to open borders. To welcome every person in. Yeah, we're gonna be taking care of like everybody. If you get sick, we got you covered with all like fully medical like you know coverage, whatever. And so it was a lot like into it. So that's how the boom started.
Yeah, I remember 1 year into it, not even a year into it, into the beer bug, we were all like we went to Dominican Republic. We
For
had
the
to
next
stay
wedding.
Yeah.
no, well, before that we went before that. Before that we went. The next wedding was afterwards. We went.
I
Before
went
that.
before that once for Emily's mom's birthday. I think it
Yeah,
was.
that's it.
Yeah.
That's the
Big
one.
trip that we went
Yeah,
all of us.
big trip, all of us.
So again, this thing happened to me. I ended up without a job like 2 years after I got here. So what happened to me specifically on that industry is like I had a 2 year non-disclosure agreement. So I had a non-compete. I couldn't work in the industry that I loved, like from when I worked for many years, even if I wanted to. Florida laws didn't allow me to go back to the same industry. So I was in a very bad situation in which, like, what is it for me now? Like, what is it I'm gonna do? So I remember when I got here in 2019, um, I was looking for properties, and this is just leveraging on the question that you asked me. I was looking for property in the States, and I remember like looking for properties in my brother's neighborhood, which is a very nice neighborhood. And there were like houses at that point, like $250,000 and stuff like that. And my brother, let's say, he has a little bit of experience on real estate. He took advantage of the 08, 09 situation as well. And he told me at that point, it's like, I like, if you're asking me, I think the housing market is a little bit on the highest peak now. It's a little bit expensive. So if I were you, I wait. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take your word. Then COVID came completely unexpected. All the houses went up.
Even more.
It
Yeah.
came down to a situation. Then I was without a job. It's like, what now? I started working as a 1099 for the company that I work now. As a 1099, like, to my surprise, because I didn't know any of that, they needed, oh yeah, you need 2 years as a 1099 for you to be able to apply for a mortgage,
Yeah.
for a loan. I was like, damn. So
I think even under W-2, they want you under the same employer.
not really, bro. I remember
W2, they won W2 for 2 years.
Yeah.
I remember
gonna
me
want it under
being
the same
here.
employer
I remember
regardless.
being here, and my brother like put me in touch with one of the people that he was working with. But very few. I mean, obviously they were asking for like bank accounts and stuff like that. That always helps. Um, but yeah, I got a $200,000 like loan approved. But to me, 250,000 was insanely expensive,
Look at it
not
now.
worth it. Which was crazy.
Yeah, when you think about that now. Yeah.
So
That same
again,
house is worth 400.
I had like to be working as a 1099 for a couple of years, and then it's like, okay, and then I asked my brother again. Now with the house is you know
How they are. Yeah.
twice the price, and I asked him like, okay, if like, what would you do? Like, oh, you're asking me again? I'm gonna tell you the same thing. If I were you, I wait. So long story short, I realized that there's never gonna be a good time like for it. If you're always like waiting for, oh yeah, I'm gonna be waiting for tomorrow, the market to crash and stuff like that. Nobody has a crystal ball. I knew that I had to do something regardless. Like even now, I mean, I bought my house. I'm grateful, for because like all planets got aligned for me to get my house. But I ended up like paying close to $500,000 for that house. A house that I know is not even like.
Well, there's a good side to it because talking about that, Federal Reserve just came out
Yeah.
today and they just lowered the interest rates by half a point.
Yeah.
And if you go, Miggy, see if you can find it on the Federal Reserve's website, their plan, what they want, where they want to go within the next couple of years. They're talking about, because right now it's at about 5%. They're talking about mid low fours by the end of the year,
Yeah.
and then mid low threes by the end of next year. And they're talking about like mid two, a little bit higher, mid two next year after that. And those projections are, it has to be on a Federal Reserve's website. Their plan.
But I know, and it's a good point that you're saying. Like, because honestly, I was always looking for those type of like insights and information for me to leverage on. So there are two factors here. So you got like the housing prices, right? And you got the interest rate. Okay. So I you remember I had a couple of conversations with you as well. Like I mean, you have your beautiful girlfriend, which I love. Um, and I was just, not referring to you specifically, just, referring to the fact that two young people, like, pretty much in love with, aspirations,
Yeah.
And it was like, it's hard. Like, how can you put a weight that huge on just like, on a mortgage side for the houses like in the area like you're gonna be like paying closer to like like $3,000 in mortgage.
Yeah.
If that,
When you start doing the math, yeah.
if that would be the case. So, um, two factors here. Again, housing prices, interest rate. So I ended up with my interest rate being at 6.5, like for my property. And the rates that I was getting, Jay, it was like 6.9, and I paid an extra $7,000 for me to bring those, like, buy those points down
Mm-hmm.
to 6.5. And now the rates are dropping down. But the predictions, although you're saying that the rates are going to be dropping down, is that the market has been halting as far as like increasing the pricing houses. Because I've seen the houses stalling
Yep.
on the prices.
Yeah, they're not going up as much as they were. Yeah.
They're not going up, but they were, so they were
Bless
like,
you, Megan.
pretty
Thank
much like cutting, to make it interesting, because the interest rate were so high that you making the, if the prices went up, it was going to be insane and nobody was buying. That was the case. So now that the rates are going to be, lowering or reducing at that point, you are going to see like the housing, prices go up as well.
Correct.
So my point of view is like, because there's never a good opportunity or a good timing, I'm gonna do it now, because regardless if the rate go down on the long run,
Refinance?
I can always refinance.
Yeah.
So let me go ahead and do that.
And you know what's a one variable I always thought about when I was doing construction a lot. It's what I used to think about, was seeing all the amount of houses and land being bought up by huge developers, right, and not selling, right. So that's a big problem with the housing market. And then now we're seeing the interest rates getting better, and I think also we'll start to see maybe house prices not start to fluctuate as much, because they've put in some regulations on all these big developers buying all these houses and holding them, right?
Well, everyone was making fun
So-
of BlackRock when BlackRock was buying up the houses in 2010. They're like, "You're crazy. You're paying double the amount of the prices." Right now, BlackRock ended up laughing at everyone else, right? Because
They own it all.
they pretty much own it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're trying to put those regulations in place which is going to limit the amount. But
I hope it helps. I just hope it helps.
I don't think it will. In my opinion, honestly, I don't think it will.
I think it's gonna just slow them down.
No, because they have so much money that even if they pay higher price for it, they don't care. They know they're parking their money in an investment that's going to bring investment. You know what I mean? So I don't think they're going to slow down per se. I think a lot of companies that later came around and created these packs, and they were doing the investments, like California companies, like fintech companies that were investing, those are going to go under because they just don't have they were leveraging that. They don't have the power to leverage. But BlackRock is just a very small part of their business. They're going to continue doing it. So just like you said, there's really never a good time to buy property, even if the economy is bad. It's like, let's say today you bought a house and it costs $300,000. Tomorrow economy crashes and it costs $100,000. You're still better off because you can go in and refinance that $300,000 at a lower interest rate, bring down your payments. Yes, your house eventually will go up in price. Nothing is really static, right? Unless United States burns, crashes, which I don't foresee that happening anytime soon with the military we have. It's just not going to happen. So there's never really a bad time to buy property. There's always a bad time to have emotions about buying the property, right? So with that being said, I don't know how I feel about them cutting the interest rates. I really don't. I like it and I dislike it at the same time.
Well, at the end of the day, I mean, with elections, they're around the corner, and they always want to make everything beautiful, coming up into elections,
Yes.
But I can tell you something, and this is true fact, maybe you can, Google it and just find that information out. But I've heard that supposedly, if the like 3 months prior to the elections, if the S&P, and the market is, growing, the same president, the same party has won, like, ever since like 1984. When that happens, that's been
A trend.
a trend.
Well, yes
So
and
they're
no.
trying to, I don't know if they're forcing it, like, to be, like, nice, but I'm just foreseeing, a great couple of next months, at least until the elections and maybe, until like transitional power, if there was a transitional power from like one party to another. But this couple of months are gonna be this all gonna be blessing. It's gonna be butterflies. It's gonna be rainbows and everything's gonna be a beauty. So this is a good time, good opportunity for investments. Like overall, like at the end of the year, it's a different story.
So this is what's gonna happen, in my opinion. Within the next 3 to 6 months, we'll see the S&P 500 dip, right? But every time there was a interest rate cut, S&P and markets have dipped, right? Within 3 to 6 months. But 3 to 9 months, it never lasts a year, and then it bounces back up. Now, here's a quintessential thing. Anytime Democrats win an election, market dips, right? Because Democrats are more pro taxes, pro more government spending, so on and so forth. So people are a little more hesitant to invest in the market, and it's more emotional selling that happens. Anytime Republicans win, it's a little bit of a softer landing, right? So he's right. Now,
But let me ask you this: like, isn't the S&P in like all time highs now?
S&P is all times high. S&P, no matter at what time of what year you look at, S&P is always going to be at all-time high in comparison to the same situation in the past.
Yeah.
Right? So, S&P might be lower right now, let's say, but it's still at all-time high if you compare it at a bad times in the past, right? So, it's always going up in a straight line, right? That's the S&P. The only way it wouldn't go up in a straight line if economy completely collapsed and crashed, right? But here's the boring part. Why do interest rates go down? There's two indicators that made Federal Reserve cut the interest rates. Number one was inflation was slower
Yeah.
at the target market they wanted, and number two, the unemployment rate was high. Anytime there's higher unemployment rate and inflation slows down, what it means that people are not spending money. So this is the time to release the money, to make it cheaper to borrow, so people can take the cheap money and spend, right? So, but here's a big part that people forget. Great, interest rates are lower, inflation is lower, but it doesn't mean we didn't have like crazy inflation past 3 4 years. It was 20%, 20%, 20%, 15%, right? So we've compounded this inflation. So the prices are not going to go down. Prices are going to continue to go up from here. It's just the trajectory and the velocity of prices is slower. That's the only difference. We're never going to go back to milk being $1, a gallon of gas being, $2. Like, it's just not going to happen. We're just going to continually go up. Your Disney subscription is just going to go up in price, right?
I actually just got one of my subscriptions increased by $2.
Yeah.
They didn't even say nothing to me.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what I'm trying to say. So this is why now we don't want to be in a deflationary economy, which means when you're in a deflationary economy, the prices do go down, but it is not a good thing. Then devalues the dollar, so on and so forth. There's a lot of things behind it, right? And you don't want to be in a hyperinflationary or inflationary economy, right? So you want to be right in the middle. But the problem is not that. The problem is an average person, when they're going to Walmart or Publix, they're like, God damn, I just spent $400. What the fuck did I buy? Nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Now, that's for old heads like myself and you that have been living for 10, 20 years, paying bills and providing for family. We can see the trajectory. Somebody that's young, that's a price for them. This is normal for them.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Yeah. So the number one thing is here is that the employers actually give you a livable wage.
But like to your point there, yes, I mean what you're saying is completely correct. But and then it puts a lot of pressure in the younger generation, because again, like how much the younger generation is making on a monthly basis, on a yearly basis,
They're not. They're
Like,
not making a lot.
What's the average national salary in the U.S.?
36.
36 to 50, depending on what
I
state you look
I
at.
heard it's like 50,000.
I think
Yeah.
it's less. Yeah.
It depends
Average
what state.
nationwide, it's 50,000.
Yeah, it depends what state. If you combine all together and divide it by the
50,000.
yeah,
And how much is in Florida?
62. Florida is 62.
62?
Florida is a little bit higher. Now, I guess
Average
numbers are,
average medium income in Florida is $34,000. Household, 67.
Yes. So, but here's the one thing.
Household.
Yeah.
Both
67.
of them.
Oof.
Correct. So this is what we're dealing with.
That's
A lot
low,
of people
brother.
don't understand this. Since back in the 70s and the movement of the feminism where women started working, which was a very,
Yeah,
very smart move.
Average income in the U.S. is $37,000.
Is a very, very
37.
yeah, very, very smart move, because if I was an employer, why would I skip on 50% of my population that can be productive? As an employer, you want your eggs frozen? No problem, I'll cover it. You want IVF? No problem, I'll cover it. You just come and you work for me, you produce because I'm making money, right? And corporations and people, they're not stupid. So they know if there's a husband and a wife and they're both going to work, that means there's excess cash within a family. We can take more excess cash, right? This is what's happening. So now we created a situation where husband and a wife earning money, now we became like, this is tight now. Like there's no other way to make more money.
So we all see this chart here starting what year? 2010, Mickey?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
2010, 2011. Okay, now look up the chart of inflation over the past that same time. So we can see the line difference.
Yeah. It's going to be significant. It's going to be a significant.
Yeah.
It's not going to give you that data right now. It's not going to give you that line. It's just going to give you this nonsense of like the 7%, 6.5%. But we all know that's not true because those numbers were messed with, right? Like the way they messed with those numbers, they came out and said, how are we going to calculate inflation? To make this seem a little bit less, what we're going to do, we're going to say, okay, is there a substitute? For example, you were buying ribeyes at $5. Now we're going to substitute a ribeye with ground beef because it's a substitute. It's still beef. But the beef hasn't gone up in price that much, right? Ground beef. So we're going to say it went up only 7%. Because ground beef went up 7%, and it's a substitute for ribeye. But you're no longer getting ribeye because ribeye itself went up 30, 40, 50%, right? They're not going to include the ribeye in it. And there's a lot of things that they're removed from their CPI calculations, right? To make it seem illusionary to average person that's reading it, because average person is going to be doing the same thing we are. We're just going to look at the chart, right? We're not really going to look at what the report took in and how they calculated. But once you go into the numbers, and this is all boring stuff, guys. I know I'm putting you to sleep.
Yeah, no.
But this is how it works. And then another thing is, I love it how our candidates will go out there and they'll be like, we had the best. We didn't have any inflation, best economy. The other one, like, you had a shit economy. We had a best economy. That's complete bullshit. None of you guys influence what Federal Reserve does. Let me rephrase that. You have some influence, but Federal Reserve, it's its own entity, and they decide what they're going to do. You can try to influence, but it might work, it might not work. So at the end of the day, what the inflation does, what the money flow does, it really depends on Federal Reserve more than anything than on the United States government. So United States government can make the things better. And the way that they do make things better is by, for example, cutting government spending. That would be one way they can reduce inflation on their end, which means reduction of borrowing of the money by government, right? Which means our deficit is not growing as much. But anytime you have Democrats, there's a little more government spending. Anytime you have Republicans, there's a little bit less government spending. But the government spending is happening no matter what.
Let me ask you this: as far as employment, like who has historically created more, job positions like over time? It's like Mickey, can you Google that? Like since let's say 1984 today, like Republicans versus Democrats, like,
and those
who has created more jobs? I don't know. Like
you can't rely on those numbers either, because the way they calculate it depends on what they're calculating. Because they'll calculate part-time jobs as jobs, so it's not really a good indication who has created more jobs. They might say this month we created 200,000. There were 200,000 more people employed than the month before.
There's also other factors like wars. During the wars,
correct,
there's going to be a lot more jobs being made.
Correct. Well, the biggest, like, you can't really look at these numbers. You kind of have to read between the lines. You know what I mean? Like, probably number one job creation, if you ask me, was during during the Cold War, not Cold War, right before Cold War, like the World War II, when all men left and then they had to bring the women in to work. That was probably the biggest job creation out there.
Also the amount of manufacturing of weapons.
Exactly. So all
According
these
to
numbers.
this chart,
Mhm.
it is incorrect. Bill Clinton, by the millions, had 18.6 million at most.
Yeah, but in order
And
to
then who,
understand,
like Reagan was the second one?
yeah, Ronald Reagan
Reagan.
was the second one. But it is very important to go in there and read this report and see how they're doing, like how they're
How was it
calculating
that
these
it
numbers.
happened?
How are they
Huh?
calculating numbers? And when you go in
No,
there,
I'm
and-
saying,
yeah, because
what he was
right
saying.
now what we're doing, we're comparing apples to oranges. These are the numbers that apples to oranges. We need to really go down there and then even everything out and make apples to apples.
Reagan was a what year? 84.
Yeah,
1981 to 1989.
81 to 89.
89.
Okay, so just put like 1980.
He's right there.
One. Like just like that's from 1933 to 2022. Like just put.
No.
Let's say-
It's saying Bill Clinton was the first one with the most jobs, and then Reagan.
Yeah, but I don't want to
This-
see it like
and then
like
Roosevelt.
president. Like, can you have like
A
Democrats
smaller
versus
search.
If you ask me, I think Roosevelt's times, the 40s, were the biggest creation of jobs.
Do you have something on the Department of Labor or something like that? You
Would-
know, something more.
Now, here's also another thing, right? Which is also
1980.
which is also a big influence when it comes down to economy, right?
That same article came up.
Yeah. So there's a big right now, right? Right now in our society, we're a society of users, right? What that means is that it's sometimes cheaper for you to go buy a new shirt than you wash your old one, right?
Yeah, for sure.
You understand? When was the last time you heard somebody fixing their shoes? Your shoes get bad, you throw them away, you get new ones.
Yeah.
Right? But the rest of the world does not live like this.
Capitalism, bro.
Yeah, rest of the world does not live like this.
Yeah.
Like you take DR, you take Lithuania back in the day, not
Which, by the
anymore.
way,
Armenia.
I'm sorry to cut you there, but I'm looking for I have a couple of shoes that I really want them like bright and shiny, because one of the things that I usually like the most out of DR, it's like there was like people cleaning shoes like on the streets and stuff like that. So I was always walking with my shoes like shiny and stuff. Like
Yeah.
places like that here.
Yes,
Where
there's
at?
only one place that I know, and
Where?
it's in West Shore Mall, right by Macy's.
And
and it's-
Tampa.
It's a Cuban shop. It's a Cuban-owned shop. You can
There you
take your shoes in there. They'll fix your shoes. They'll shine them up for you. Another place that I know that they do this was in Raymond James, where I worked. You need to have badges and shit. You get inside. There's a shoemaker guy. I took my shoes to him. I had this pair of shoes that I really liked. I got him for $120. I took it in for him to resole the shoes. That cost me $130.
But they lasted like an extra 2 more years.
Yeah, but I paid $120 for the shoes, but for them to fix it cost me $130.
So I found a little bit of information here. It's on Wikipedia, so you can't really 100% trust it. But from April 1945 to August 2023, of the 115 million net jobs added, 83 million, 72% were under Democrats, and 32 million, 28% were under Republicans.
Yeah. Now, again, as I said, these numbers are there. You cannot argue with them. However, I
You have
would
to
like
look at
to
the
see
context of each situation.
exactly. Now,
I mean,
It's-
yeah, you got to look at the context, but like more than 80%, that's a
what,
significant
Now, also,
but
let's
if these
look
job
at
majority are part-time
The-
jobs,
let's look at how
Unemployment
much.
rates
still,
has
really
risen
not more money.
on average under Republican presidents, while it has fallen on average under Democratic presidents.
Now we have to look at how much time have we spent under Democrats versus Republicans. 'Cause that's another thing. I'm sure it hasn't been 50-50.
it's been 50-50.
No, it has not.
Check
It
that
has
out.
been 52. The Republicans have held the White House for 28 years, the Democrats for 24. In those 52 years, the private economy has produced 66 million private sector jobs.
So the Republicans have actually held it for more time.
For
It looks-
one candidacy more.
Yeah, one candidacy more, and still haven't produced as many jobs.
Yes, but now again,
That's
I
just
think-
one variable of the context.
exactly. So, bottom line is this.
But it's like again interesting facts, like, and again I mean it's difficult to talk about like politics, because at the end of the day you're gonna end up in a rabbit hole.
is exactly.
But people ask me about
It's by design.
Yeah,
It's by design.
people ask me about like, okay, like who do you like favor? Are you more on the Democrat side, Republican side? I try to see everything on the I like to see in the big picture. Every time they talk about Biden and his administration now, as far as the Democrats, I think they have done a great job on the macroeconomic side. Macro, all right. By that I mean, you know, like lowest levels of unemployment. You got uh, you know, again, there's a lot of like other factors like on that aspect. However, on the micro side, you got inflation soaring. You got with that, it obviously comes to the prices on the you know
Day to day stuff.
day to day stuff, which is actually is hurting the American economy here. How can you there's no way for you to justify like single mom buying some milk, bro, and paying a lot more for like stupid milk,
Well, I think the biggest thing here is, I think if the government came in, and they kind of came in and said, we want to bring in the family unit.
What's
you
up,
know
Luffy?
we don't want to promote divorces. We want to promote a full household where you don't have single moms, you don't have single dads, right? Two people can do a better job than one person, in my opinion. But yet, it is actually, if you think about it in a whole scheme of things, it's actually better because you come perpetually keeping people at work. They're perpetually hustling to work and make money. By doing that, they're spending less time with their kids. Well, right now, kids are being raised by other people more than the parents themselves,
Well,
and I think that's creating
teachers spend more time
with the kids
than the parents do, and that's just how the society is set up. I mean, you're talking about you're sending your kids off for 8-9 hours a day, and when what they do, they come back, do their homework, and go to sleep.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, and in the morning, what is it? Get them ready and take them off. So literally, the teachers are doing a lot of the parenting.
A lot of
It's
the
always
heavy
been like
lifting.
that.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not
not
something
not
that's
always.
new.
Not always. Before the 70s, when men went out to work and women kind of stayed home, women were more involved in raising the kids and
I
taking
mean,
care of
but
that part of it.
in that sense, though, those kids were still being sent off for hours at a time to school for 8 hours a day or whatever it was at the time. I mean, yes, you did have more stay-at-home moms. So I think that from the ages of being born to 5 years old, yes, there was more engagement there, right? There wasn't as much daycare being utilized. But once they were in grade school, I mean, that's across the board that teachers are parenting kids. It's forever.
So let's talk about this. Right? We just saw what's the average salary in the United States, $35,000, right? So,
I think 35 was in the state of Florida, was it?
Say again?
35,000 was in the state of Florida.
It was 37 both. 37 was the state of Florida, and then on average it's 37.
That's crazy.
So let's think about it this way. So let's say it's 37,000.
That's what Google gave me when I just searched.
So let's just do some simple math, right? $37,000. That means, let's say, dad and a mom are making $37,000, right? So now, well, usually it's dad maybe will make a little bit more than a mom does, right? Whatever.
It said average though was 64, so that is double, right?
So the mom goes to work and she makes $38,000 before tax. Let's eliminate the tax off of that. Let's say they're making it about $35,000, right? With all the cuts and everything, blah blah blah.
No, they make way less than that. 35. No,
Well,
they're taking more than just.
But then at the end of the year, you're getting money returned to you, so on and so forth.
I'd
right?
still say they're making probably 30 even after returns.
So let's just say 30, right? So to take a kid to a daycare is averaging between $800 to about $1,200 a month.
Oh, it's more than that.
Yeah, so there you go. So let's just say take $1,200 a month, right? $1,200 a month times 12, you're looking at what? $16,000. So now she went to work, earned $30,000, and she gave $16,000 of that away for the kid for kids to be taken care of. And she's now bringing in only $14,000 home. $14,000 divided by 12, you're making it about $1,000 a month extra that's coming into the house.
Let's look up average daycare.
But she's putting in 40 hours a week. Now, she comes home, she's tired. Dad comes home, dad's tired. And everything else is becoming a shit show. This is why we have these high divorce rates, right? So I think the system we've created is great for the companies that employ people because you have a huge workforce of people that's going to do the job for you.
This is the average annually cost of childcare.
Yeah.
If you take the average weekly, which is $321, and divide it by 52.
Yeah.
$17,000.
So to me, in my opinion, you as a guy need to do everything you possibly can where your wife has the option to go to work or stay at home, right? Because at the end of the day, if she does go to work, there's a big chunk of that is going to go on a childcare where I would rather have my wife raise my kids right? Because then we're kind of going to be on the same wavelength, right? That's why she's the
But
wife
it's
of the
also,
husband.
you have to look at it in that spectrum where on average, the average person makes this much money, right? And at the end of the day, average is going to be average. You know, majority of people fall in that middle.
Correct.
So it's just a question of, is it worth for me to say, is it worth paying? You have to think about it, saying $16,000 for my wife to stay home.
In my opinion, yes. In my opinion, it is worth for me to pay $16,000 for my wife to stay home.
Also, might not be possible.
Might not be possible. That's another thing, right? Why? Because we created this environment where both parents have to work just to support bills.
Even if it means that half of it is going somewhere else.
Correct. So now this brings in the human factor of the problems. Mom comes home tired. There's still laundry need to be done. Food need to be cooked. Dad comes home tired. There's still kids need to be taken care of. The laundry needs to be done. Food needs to be cooked. So you get this clash of two people that are tired and they still have responsibilities. So I don't think we as a society are built to work this way, but yet we've created this. Now,
the CEO of Kroger said in court that they purposely raised prices of food well above inflationary rates just because they can.
Yes, 100%. And I agree with that. And the reason they did that is because people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, because they can, just like you said.
Yeah. Now, and another thing, I don't agree that Democrats lowered the inflation. Federal Reserve helped soften the landing, but Democrats had nothing to do with this. Because again, Federal Reserve is not controlled by the government. As a matter of fact, if you want to go the other way, I would say Federal Reserve controls the government by tightening and loosening the supply of the money. Right? So at the end of the day, there is no Democrats nor Republicans can, in my opinion, can take the kudos, the tap on the shoulder for making the inflation where it is right now, or lowering the inflation, or increasing the inflation.
I think there's too many factors there to say that.
There are too many factors. You know. But
I do agree. It's a multi-pronged thing. It's not a one thing. I agree.
At the end of the day, you know, you gotta like, and it's not that I hate saying this, but I always say it. You know, you gotta take everything with tweezers. You know.
Yeah.
It's like specific, you know, topic.
At the individual level, I agree with you.
You gotta be with a magnifying glass, seeing something specific, you know, for you to be, you know, developing and talking about the topic, because there's a lot of factors that impact that, you know. And just on the politics side, and just to make it a little bit more comical, and for us to, you know, talk a little about that, you know,
we're talking about fucking cats and dogs.
Yeah,
there
you go. There you go.
We're talking about fucking cats and dogs.
I was going specifically on that route. You know, like recently we heard, you know, Donald Trump on the recent debate, and you know, it was a great debate. You know, it was going on his favor, but at the end he kind of like lost it. You know, because
his ego got in the way.
He was kind of candid.
His ego got in the way.
He was kind of candid, you know, for a specific topic, and when he got cornered, he was like, you know, just
he's an ego trip.
Just, you know, went right at it, you know, specifically when, you know, talking about Haitians specifically in Spring Hill, Ohio.
Well, this was the caveat. He was very, very smart about it. He did go off the rail, but we kind of knew who he was talking about, but he didn't really specifically say that.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean? He said, well, people are eating cats and dogs, but he didn't necessarily say Haitians because he got fucking shit for it, for calling Haiti a shithole country.
Yeah, I was about to say that he's already been having beef with them.
Yeah, so he was kind of smart. Yeah, he was kind of smart about not saying that, but we kind of all knew what he was talking about, right?
But at the end, you know, it's like and again, you know, I'm from Dominican Republic, and I've lived this situation with Haitians specifically, you know, and historically they have called, like, you know, DR a racist, you know, country, because we are like
nationalist, more than nationalist than racist, because the Dominican Republic is heavy with the African community.
So the thing is that you have a single island, you know, which, you know, shares territory with Haiti. Haiti per se has 11 million, you know, inhabitants there. DR has 11 million. So in a very small island, you got 22 million people. Okay, so you got this like, you know, again, and I tell people like all the time, like Dominican Republic specifically, when the majority of the countries in Latin America.
Well, to give the comparison, it would be like, think of Dominican Republic as United States and think of Haiti as El Salvador. That's economically and infrastructurally, that's what it would be, the comparison. So you have you have an island that's shared with picture United States and El Salvador.
Yeah, but what I'm going with this is you got two different countries, in a very specific island, small island. Okay, so you got these two countries here, and when it comes to Latin America per se, the majority of these countries they all got their independence like from Spain
Mm-hmm.
specifically. Okay, Dominican Republic got its independence from Haiti. So Haiti used to govern
Which used
the
to be a
island,
French colony.
which a French colony. At a certain point, they were governing the island. They were putting taxes on Dominicans. I mean, they were not even called Dominicans at that point, but they were putting taxes on the inhabitants of that island.
And they had their own little mini Boston party.
They wanted to eradicate the Spanish language on that country and stuff like that. So this is how all these now Dominicans, they were like,
My bad.
they got the need to be like independent. So people say, oh, it's because about the skin color. It goes way beyond, farther than that. You got two countries
Blocks the
on
camera.
which you know how difficult it is, when you have two countries divided by everything. First of all, you got language. The official language of Haiti is actually French, but they got also Creole as an official language there. In the R is solely Spanish. So you got religion, which is usually a big topic, So you got Haiti with voodoo as an official religion, and you got Christian at its peak in the R, like 97, 98%. You got food is very different. You got like everything. So
Yeah, culture is completely different.
completely different, completely different. And I was having this conversation. I think it was with you specifically, Jay. Like I've had the privilege of working like in Haiti as well, like on business side and other industries. But in the case of like Haiti specifically, 60% of that population, 60% of that population, they live under what is called the poverty line. Poverty line
Under poverty line.
under the poverty line.
Less than $1 a
That
day.
means less than $2 per day as a disposable income. Okay, 60% of the population. Out of that 60%, 80% of that population, they live like under $1 per day as a disposable income, and that's the need and urge for all these Haitians to find that stupid dollar per day for them to spend. Okay, so these are people that obviously they're like in need. They're always like hustling. I've never seen something similar on which they don't buy. You can't. I mean, obviously they there's a lot of things that are being sold like on a wholesale level, but their goal is always like, let's say they buy a bag of diapers, they sell you like unit by unit because they're after that stupid dollar.
Miggy, can you pull up the map, the geographic map of the island?
So and that's curious, because like people don't understand when you see
Go to Google Maps.
when you see the
Satellite images.
when you see the island per se. I'm talking about education here. When you
Yes.
see the island per se, and you see it on a Google Earth,
Yeah,
level.
that's where this is where I'm going.
You see the Google Earth level. You can know from Google Earth.
Put on the
Layers on the bottom
terrain
left.
That yeah, put on the layers.
Bottom,
No, on the bottom
bottom left. Yeah.
bottom right. Yeah, there you go. So start zooming in.
So you can see on the
Right on the border.
yeah, you can see on the western side. The R is completely green.
Mm-hmm.
Haiti is like completely
Barren.
like brownish, let's say, because in a certain point they were like one of the top
Or maybe it is one of those things in the
exporters
bottom
Of
right.
coal.
of coal.
Yeah.
So
They
but the
literally
coal comes
destroyed
from-
all the trees
coal
to earn
comes
money.
from trees. So because of the getting rid of all those trees,
Did you see something?
they got the soil all messed up, so nothing is growing on that soil.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's a revolving story, and DR has been historically asking for the international community to step in like for international aid, because DR has always been the country, the number one country when it comes to helping this particular country here. You know.
Yeah.
So I can understand there's a lot of Haitians that are living here in the U.S. now. I think the majority of them are in Little Haiti in Miami because
Yeah.
that's like their point. There's a lot of respected people from Haiti. I respect all the people from Haiti,
I don't know.
but you can't change education like overnight. You
Well,
know?
I don't think it's
And when they say that they're eating the cats and dogs, I've seen that situation like happening in the DR. So I cannot point fingers like they're not doing it. I'm not saying they are. But factual situation, if it's happening or not, I don't know. Do I know it can happen? I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes.
no, but this is the basic logic, right? If you got a family and your family needs to eat, and you don't have money to buy food, and you don't have food to buy, what are you gonna do? I would go and fucking catch that duck. I would go and catch that cat to feed my family, right?
Saw nice
Now,
fat ducks today when I went fishing.
yeah, now, is this happening in Ohio? I don't know. There's probably like a lot of fucking exaggeration there for the wow factor.
But again, yeah, like there's a lot of exaggeration probably, but why specifically talk about Spring Hill, Ohio? Like
Correct, and which was a thing, and I think I know why, because because the biggest I guess drawback or the biggest criticism they had for the Kamala's debate was a lot of people, even people on the Democratic side, they were like, well, you didn't talk about the policy, specifically the independents, right? Like you didn't talk about policy. And Republicans came in, they don't really have that good of a policy either, but they had to mention the immigration because of the border situation we're having. And this is completely unrelated to Haiti, but they're specifically mentioning the immigration problem, and they're bringing Ohio. Oh, look, these immigrants are eating cats and dogs, right? So they're redirecting your attention to Ohio to show that somehow the immigration problem is bad. Now, immigration situation is pretty bad.
Isn't
but
JD Vance from Ohio? Do you
I
think
don't know. I don't like JD Vance to
but
begin
I
with.
think he's from Ohio, right? Like he's the current what is it, governor center there?
I'm not sure. I don't
He is
like
the
him.
senator
sounding-
for the great state of Ohio.
Yeah, there you go.
So probably he got that information from JD
Yeah.
Vance. This is happening in my state, whatever. And it escalated onto I don't know.
Yeah,
just saying.
but the immigration issue is still looming. The only reason we don't see it as much is because they moved the way they look at immigration right now. They've actually moved the areas and they're bringing people from here, here, here. The actual number of immigrants hasn't changed. They're just streamlined the process of immigrants coming in, right? Now, is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? In my opinion, if you ask me, I would say this. Listen, if I were to be the president, I would say, listen, I'm going to put an executive order in. If an employer wants to hire an immigrant to work, hire them. Even if they don't have documents, hire them. And you as an employer now responsible, let's put an arbitrary number, 20 to 22%, 25% of their income that you're going to pay, you as an employer responsible to pay that in taxes. Put immigrants to work. They start paying taxes. They become a producing member of our community. We already know we're not having enough children as it is, and if it continues going this way, our birth rate and our mortality rate are going to flip-flop, which means we're going to have more people dying than living, right? So we're going to be an issue. We need immigrants to repopulate our country to continue going the way we need to go. So immigrants are a key part of the United States. Immigrants, as a matter of fact, this is why we have H-1 visas, right? To bring immigrants in, the exceptional
I've seen
immigrants.
for instance, like I mean, which is a good thing, like Trump is not talking about like Mexicans anymore, like the attention has deviated to some other countries,
I wanted to change up the conversation if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead. I know this is a boring shit that we're
We're
talking
doing
about.
politics for like an hour, so
Yeah.
Did
Go
you
ahead.
guys see some jujitsu stuff? So we mentioned Felix here being the one to introduce all of us to jujitsu. So
Yeah, he was actually the catalyst.
so yeah, absolutely for everyone. So
You know how it all started? Because he choked Ozzy. That's
yeah,
how it
here,
all
man,
started.
cool. So
And all the shit that we're doing right now with the, by the way, shameless
all of
plug,
it, yeah.
our
Why
sponsors,
do you
UFC.
keep saying that? It's not a
and-
shameless plug. It's your podcast. Stop saying that.
Yeah, but it's still a
annoying as
shameless
hell.
plug.
No,
We're
no,
trying
no.
to
Just
get
say,
people out there, you know?
listen, UFC Gym.
Yeah.
Don't say
UFC
shameless plug. It's your podcast. If you're in somebody else's podcast,
Yeah, that's
And
true.
at
There
that-
you got a point there.
And
You got
at that, it's your gym.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's not our, it's our gym.
I keep
It's our
You're a
gym.
business owner, bro.
Yeah,
I kept hearing him say that over and over again for the past couple podcasts. I'm like, stop saying shameless.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Mickey. You're right. I take the criticism. You're definitely
It
right.
makes it
But-
sound
So,
weird.
non-shameless plug. We have Vitality UFC gym, you know, and in my opinion, you know, this whole thing started because Felix had a couple of drinks, Ozzy had a couple of drinks, and they ends up choking Ozzy in a pool. Where Ozzy thought, no man, I got a neck the size of your waist, Felix. There's no way you're choking me. Next thing you know, is and then this is where I was okay. I'm gonna choke you one day, you know.
Yeah,
That's
but
how it all started.
The reality of all this, yeah, that happened, but you know, when something like that happens, like the first time, you're always in disbelief. You know, it's like, what the fuck happened? I
Yeah.
don't know. You know, so it's like okay, you did that. You know, you can't do it again, and then it happens again. It's like okay, now it's a problem. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and
So I wanted to ask you guys. I'm sure you guys heard a little bit about Nicky Rod calling out Gordon Ryan
Yeah.
with his $1 million.
but did you see who he's scheduled with now?
So yeah, he's scheduled to grapple a guy for the UFC
Couch with Couch.
UFC Invitational.
Not Couch. What's his name? Pigsley. He's
Yes.
scheduled with Pigsley, and Pigsley was the guy that won against what's his name? Blonde hair.
Marigali.
Marigali.
Ah, okay.
Pigsley is the guy that won against Marigali.
Gotcha.
So now they're scheduled to go against each other.
Anyway, so apparently Gordon Ryan came out and called both of them out. He said, you know,
I'll do it in the same day.
he said, I'll go and I'll grapple both you, Nicky Rod, and he wants to grapple Craig again for $1 million.
Yeah, I mean,
I think it was funny how he like put the rule set out right away and
Yeah.
everything instantly. He's like, this is how I want it done. If we're gonna do it, it's gonna be exactly like this.
yeah. At the end of the day, like, you know, everybody's gonna be aiming at the, you know,
It's like Jesus, guys, just pull
Yeah.
out.
you
You
know,
know,
fucking
everybody's
dick and
gonna be
measure them.
aiming at the bigger prize.
Yeah.
I mean, I was here with Arthur like earlier today, and you know, talking about Canelo, like what's next for the guy, you know.
Yeah.
The same thing like for Gordon Ryan, you know. Gordon Ryan right now, it's a fucking legacy, you know. The guy is the beast, is the GOAT. He has the numbers to prove it. You know, there's nobody that has been, you know, like even close to to being compared with this guy right now. The thing is that the closest one, you know, to you know, let's say do some harm recent days has been Nicky Rod, you know, and Nicky Rod we've seen it, you know, improve his like fucking jiu-jitsu
Oh my God.
like a lot in the last, you know, 5 years. The guy
Just in the last 3 years.
the guy
2
was
years.
the guy was a blue belt, you know, when
Tapping black
on
belts,
the on the I think it was like 2019 ADCC, and the guy won, I think it was a silver or something like that.
Yeah,
you
he
know?
was named the black belt killer.
Black belt slayer.
Slayer.
That was there's still like, you know, today, and he identifies you know,
That's the black belt slayer.
black
That's
belt,
what he still
black
calls
belt
himself.
slayer,
Yeah.
whatever, you know. But the guy is like, you know, fucking legit in the wrestling.
I have a question. Do you think Nicky Rod's been at P. Diddy parties?
P. Diddy parties?
Yeah,
No.
because the baby oil is big with Nicky Rod.
That is something he said. He said, I want long sleeve rash guards
Yeah.
as part of the rule set because I heard you be against lathered
Yeah,
up.
they've been you know, they've been confronting themselves about, you know, pet using, which is, you know,
Performance enhancing drugs, yeah.
yeah,
I think Mike Musumeci said something about it. He goes, the PD use is so big right now that it became the new norm for jiu-jitsu.
bro. Mikey Musumeci said that like Gordon Ryan is only like 1 or 2 years, like, you know, older than
him,
than
and he looks
him,
40.
and the guy like looks 40, which is actually true, you know.
Yes.
But again, like,
It's
like
the beard,
Musumeci,
man.
you know,
No,
it's
it's all that fucking
It's all
test.
in the beard, bro.
It's all that
test,
test,
bro.
yeah.
Test makes you
Musamechi is like one of
changes your
those, like, you
skin,
know,
changes
sample
everything.
perfumes, bro.
Musumeci's just mad he can't
Yeah.
grow a beard.
You
That's
know,
all.
nice fragrance, but on a smaller, you know, like, you know, bottle, like, you know,
Just a sample bottle.
sample bottle. But Musamechi is a beast again, you know. But the problem is, this is how, like, when Gordon started, Craig Jones started, even Buchecha, you know, they were never on the, you know, absolute division. They were all, because if you want to be the greatest of them all,
You gotta be in the absolute.
You gotta be in the absolute because there's nobody that's gonna be, like facing you because you're pretty much beating every
Everyone.
fucking buddy.
Yeah.
That's what it is. So all these people they wanted to, gain weight, gain, muscles and all that, regardless of like how. But in the case of, I mean, we've seen Gordon Ryan like transformation like big time. Even though like Nicky Rod is huge, but the guy has always been like bulky like that.
Always.
So, but with Gordon, with his like stomach situation, it's been on a difficult like position, and
Yeah.
you've seen him like up and down. However,
He's either really high or really low.
huh?
He's either really high or
Yeah.
really low.
Because the guy has a like eating problem. He has a stomach
Gastro problem. Yeah.
stomach situation on which he cannot digest properly what he eats. So, like if you wanna gain weight, gain muscles, you gotta eat a lot. That's end of story.
Yeah.
So what is it like?
He's gotten a lot smaller.
So it's either eating or using. There's
Yeah.
no
Well,
other
Craig
way.
Jones, he had an interview and they asked him, about, you're considered number 2. Are you okay with that? He's like, yeah, I'm okay with being number 2 because when you're number 1, everybody talks shit about you. Everybody wants to
But
win
you can
that.
say
like,
you can say you're number 2 and nobody questions
nobody
it.
gives questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, okay, yeah, Craig is number 2.
Yeah.
But again,
And it's funny because even there's a famous Joe Rogan clip of Joe Rogan saying, yeah, like, and Craig is recognized worldwide as like the number 2 grappler in the world.
I mean, and that's the beautiful part about this guy. He's like openly, he makes fun about everything.
I like Craig so much.
The guy is like, it's fucking hilarious, bro. The guy
He's a
does like,
comedian.
it's like a
He's
comedian,
a savage.
a fucking savage. It's a magician on what he does like every day. Transforming the sport. I gotta give it to the guy.
And it's funny because usually when you hear someone that talks so much shit, they go and they perform, and a lot of it is at the end of the day, like you can see maybe brute strength or things like that. No, the guy is a technical genius.
Well,
And he's one of
Bro,
he's one of the best of all time.
Like, listen, every big name out there, regardless, every big name, they always have
It's that baby
their
oil.
own nemesis.
It's
In
that
the
baby
case
oil.
of Gordon Ryan specifically,
It's gonna be Nicky Rod.
no, it was Pena.
Pena.
Well, yeah, starting
Because
off.
Pena,
Yes, starting off,
beat,
yes.
Pena beat the guy. I think it was twice.
Twice,
you know.
yes.
So that hurt him. Like ego wise, this has been the only guy. So the thing is that maybe when he fought him initially, Gordon Ryan was not at that level. He lost. Now Pena's not even like close. So it's like, yeah, like Gordon has won, all recent fights, but it hasn't been like noticeable on a overwhelming way, like I beat you, I'll beat you, I choke you or whatever it is. It
Like
hasn't,
that one.
it hasn't
time-
happened that way.
Like that. One of the match. I think it was like the first or second match that Nicky Rod had with Gordon. That he got him with the heel hook in like the first 2-3 minutes. That's definitive.
Well,
like,
talking
stuff
about-
like that.
Talking about fights, I want to switch the conversation to Marab and Sugar Sean
So
O'Malley.
yeah, I actually wanted to talk about that because we were just talking about Lost Pod, how we were like, yeah, we're surprised being humble. Now he's coming out and saying, no, I won round 1, 3, and 5, and still, like bullshit. He didn't take my title.
Well, wait a minute. I don't know if you heard, guys. Even Dana was quite so in a press release. It's just a recent thing. Apparently, Sugar Shane, he's going for a labrum surgery,
Yeah, his hip or something like that.
hip surgery. So they were saying like, and Dana was saying like everybody kind of said that he's not being himself, blah blah blah. I didn't notice that, but I don't follow the guy enough to notice that, right? So, do you think he had this injury and he was like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna go"? Because they asked Dana, is like, "Well, how are you gonna prevent that in the future?" Dana just kind of looked at the
There is no way to prevent that. in
yeah,
the
at the interviewer, and it's like, are you like pretty much like you could tell like, are you fucking retarded? You didn't say that, but that's how he looked at it. It's like, how are you gonna prevent? Like if they don't tell you to, like, how do you check for a labrum injury? You know what I mean? So, with that being said, do you think if let's take that into consideration? Do you think, let's say this wasn't there, Marab would still have a easier chance with? It would be the same outcome, or do you think it would be a little more closer?
I don't know.
I think Marab was, the guy was brilliant in that fight. You know,
He was definitely a
He-
strategist.
he that was all strategy. You know, I mean, the guy knew he needed to, be at a close distance. Playing. The guy was outperforming the guy on the wrestling side. He knew he had no fucking chance.
To out wrestle him, yeah.
And
Striking with the guy.
and ended up not only destroying him on the ground, he also destroyed him with strikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not only, I mean, have you seen what's his name? The guy that got knocked out by within 10 seconds by Conor McGregor.
Jose Aldo.
Jose Aldo. Have you seen Marab and Jose Aldo's match?
No.
Yes.
Marab and Jose Aldo's match is crazy because Marab kept shooting and they couldn't take Aldo down.
This
He
was
couldn't
a
take
lo-
Aldo
a
down.
while ago.
It was a while ago, yeah. Marab has improved clearly, you know.
And I remember like back in the days, like Jose,
I wish his
Jose Aldo was
improved as much.
Jose Aldo had like, one of the as far as like highlights and statistics, when takedown prevention, the guy, it was impossible for you to take him down.
Yeah.
So when you have like a person like that and like
That's an interesting
with
match
a good
now.
wrestler, like it's always gonna be targeting, like putting people down on wrestling skills, like that's always gonna be a good fight, so that's what you need. But I was telling you, Jay, it's difficult, and I think I even heard like it was either like DC or Joe Rogan, talking, when they were commenting on the fight. It's difficult to simulate or emulate a fighter like Marab,
Yeah,
like
you can't.
like in a gym, like for this guy, for him to train, specifically on that type of like fighting.
You would need to line up 6-7 collegiate wrestlers
Mhm.
back to back and tell them, all right, we're gonna run 6-7 rounds back to back, and each round we're gonna have a fresh guy in there just so they can continuously shoot and shoot and shoot, because no other person can do that for 5 rounds straight except for guys like Marab.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you know that you're fighting a wrestler, you know what they're doing, So the thing is, for Sugar Sean, that he knew that,
Yeah.
but he also knew what was the only way he could beat him, which was
Striking.
standing and striking. So he was playing his game. Unfortunately, Marab's game was even better because, like, the guy, had perfect timing with all like takedowns, and it was like extremely superior, like on the ground. There was nothing for this guy to
Oh
do.
yeah, at all.
So I think to dethrone Marab right now, you need somebody that's good at striking and okay at wrestling,
Umar Nurmagomedov.
which is Umar Nurmagomedov. Yeah,
Umar Nurmagomedov is gonna be, I think, the next champion.
yeah. I think that Umar definitely has a chance. He's young, he's full of testosterone naturally. You know what I mean? Marab is a little bit older. He does have more experience than Umar, but Umar also trains with Khabib and Makhachev, right? That camp is they're eat, pray, and train. That's all they do all day long. So that's gonna be. I think that's gonna be a more interesting, more technical. I think it's gonna be less interesting fight,
I think
but it's
it'll
gonna be more technical.
I think it'll actually be a more interesting fight.
You think so?
I think they'll be forced
For you,
to
but
strike.
not for an average.
No.
person.
I think for the average person as well, because I think in that fight they're gonna be forced to strike. Because I think Umar, I think their wrestling is gonna cancel each other out, and I think they're gonna be forced to have to bang it out.
What do you guys think about the Valentina Shevchenko's fight?
Yeah,
It's extremely boring.
The Alex just mentioned. Yeah, even Dana mentioned that it was pretty boring.
Yeah, it's pretty boring. Even for me as someone that understands jiu-jitsu, it's a little more entertaining, right? But for the average person, it's a very boring fight. Not a lot of striking going on. Most of it was Alexa Grasso on her back in close guard, trying to throw up submissions, and Valentino smashing her face in. That was the entire fight.
So
I could definitely
the
see
thing
that.
is, UFC, and again, this is 3 powerful letters, but you gotta understand, like how UFC started with the Gracies. It was always boring. Because people don't understand what's happening on the ground. People just want to see people
Bang it out.
banging out, striking. bro.
But I think if you take it, right now, in my opinion, probably one of the better fighters right now is John Jones, because John Jones is very good at wrestling and he's very good at striking. I say John Jones number 1, and I'm gonna put probably
You can't say anything else but Pereira.
Pereira is not good on the ground yet. I don't think he's good on the ground. He's very
He
good at
doesn't
keeping
get
this.
knocked down.
Yeah, he doesn't get taken down, right? So, but is he good at grappling? I don't know. But who is really good at grappling and striking at 140, 45? It's current champ
At 145.
well,
Ilya.
Ilya Tapuria. I think Tapuria probably right there with
I would put
John
Islam.
Jones.
I would put Islam over them. Over both of them.
Yeah,
Over not
Islam.
both of them. Sorry. Over Ilya.
Over Ilya, yeah. So you probably have John Jones. I say John Jones still number one, and then Islam, and maybe Tapuria right
Damn.
after.
Who would you name?
You know
as
what's
your top three
crazy?
fighters currently in
You
the
know what's
UFC?
crazy? Not too long ago, you guys were putting Volkanovski up there.
Well,
Now that
Volkanovski's
motherfucker has
still
been
up there. I think
dropping down
Volkanovski's
from
I don't-
the
top
list.
5.
I don't agree with his top three. That's not my top three. But
Yeah,
what would be
I
your
still
top
think that
three?
Volkanovski's top 5.
What would be your top three? Felix?
Let me put it this way. Hold on.
So
I'll give you mine. So, top three fighters currently in the UFC. I'm gonna have to go with John Jones.
For sure, that's my number one on my list.
John Jones still fighting currently in the UFC. I think currently, after the performance I saw recently, I would have to put Max Holloway on that top three.
Max Holloway.
Yeah, that performance against one of the
Max
best strikers.
Holloway,
After after that recent performance, how dominant it was.
I think
for
it's been
5
consistent.
rounds straight. One of the best performances I've ever seen in the UFC.
I wouldn't put Max Holloway
Then-
there yet.
Then I'd go Islam Makhachev.
Damn. Okay, so you're shooting for the
So,
underdogs
Because
I
and
don't
I'm
know.
also
I
going
just-
for a well-rounded fighter.
just-
Now,
I
if you
just-
told me best strikers, I'm
You-
putting Alex Pereira at the number one of them.
Yeah.
You asked me that, and I just Google top 3 UFC fighters 2024. The number one there is
Makhachev?
Makhachev.
Yep, he's pound for pound number one.
It's being not just rated as number one, but top 10. Like ESPN and
Yeah, so they have
A
the
few people-
rankings. They have the rankings for
they've
each
been saying the
division,
same thing.
and then they have the
Alex,
pound for pound.
Alex Pereira at second and Ilya Tupuria at third. However, when you find names like this, I think, and people know and understand that the thing is it's always been consistency, and the how many fights do you actually have per year?
But can you take that
I
away
think-
from John Jones? The
That's what I'm saying,
consistency
that's what I'm
part. You
saying.
can't
I-
take it away from
I
him.
think John Jones is perhaps to me one of the greatest fighters ever. The thing is that he's been consistently non-disciplined, with the sport, and non-reliable.
Yep. His fights. He fights once every 3 years.
That's what I'm saying. So it's
there's a lot of things there.
non-reliable for UFC. He has got it. Although the guy's a little bit more mature. I think it all came with age. Because the guy was young, wild, making all this money. And just having a fucking great time.
Like he told DC, I did coke and still beat you.
Yeah. So and again, which is true.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I think John Jones has a lot to offer. I think they have to put him to more fights per se.
I just realized they should probably rename John Jones to John Cocaine Bear Jones.
But
Cocaine
at
Bear
at the end of the day, same thing with we were talking about jiu-jitsu. You're always looking for super heavyweights here. Ultra heavyweights, because different categories, weight divisions, stuff like that. But you can't compare, a
Jones,
featherweight to a ultra heavyweight.
Did you see that?
So it's all gonna come down to all all these heavyweights. Who's the number one? And I think John Jones is the number one. You got other people Duplessis is there, which is surprisingly ranked top 10 nowadays. But it's back in the days, DC was one of the greatest, and the biggest nemesis for DC was John Jones, bro. The guy had everything, titles, stuff like that. But the one guy, undisciplined, full of coke every day, drinking every fucking party, and partying every fucking night, and then beating the crap out of DC was actually this guy, man. So that's upsetting for disciplined people like DC back in the days, yeah, I'm on the gym like every day, working hard, hustling. This guy's fucking
Partying.
parties, cocaine, hookers, whatever. And then went into
Chasing people with shotguns.
yeah.
Well, did you see when
being in jail and stuff like that, and it's like, bro, and then I go back, and then I fucking kick your ass, bro. So that's bro,
Frustrating, yeah.
that works on people, And DC is like has been one of the greatest, like
He's one of the greatest of all time.
You understand? You understand?
Did you see the Dana when they said Dana? By the way, Ryan Garcia and John Jones are hanging out together. What do you think about that? He's like, nah, they're not. It's like, no, they are. They're hanging out together right now. It's like, oh yeah, that's gonna be trouble. I need to get on something like that. Yeah, his reaction was funny when he found out John Jones and Ryan Garcia are hanging out.
We talk about undiscipline, and discipline usually comes with age. When you talk about like all these people, as far as like how old they are and where they're at,
I'm gonna make a really bad
like
joke.
how old is Pereira, for instance?
Same age I think as John Jones, like 37.
37.
I'm gonna make a really, really bad joke
So
here.
on this top 10, top 25, this guy is the oldest one, and except for Ngannou, which is on the list with 38, but everybody else is less than 30.
What would be your top 3 though? What would you personally?
Like nowadays, I would certainly put although they're in the same category, I really like Pereira and Adesanya. I think Adesanya has a lot to learn still, like, and even though he knew it, he was started doing jiu-jitsu as well, like with Atos and stuff like that. And there was always a beef between Pereira and him, on a K1 Muay Thai level, so it was always like back and forth thing. But I think those two are perhaps on my top 3. Again, I'm looking always,
In consistency over
consistency
time.
over time, and more on the heavyweight side, And last but not least, I think I mean, Makachev, you can't deny that situation. The guy is wild. The guy is humble.
He's too big for that weight category.
The guy is it's humble. Like he lost Khabib being on his corner, and then we saw him like back again, like with full support on that. I think Khabib has been one of the greatest as well on the discipline side. So I think this guy, there's a lot for us to see, like coming from this guy.
This is the bad joke coming in. One opponent that John Jones always had that never quit is his wife. Yeah, it's his wife.
I will advise, if you want to see a fight that John Jones straight up did lose, and I want you to, if you don't believe that,
exactly what you're talking
go
about.
watch that fight and tell me. His first fight with Alexander Gustafsson.
Yeah.
He lost.
He lost that fight. Just like Khabib lost that fight with what's his name? He's one of the first or second fight he had. They gave it to him by decision, but he lost that fight.
But that fight with Gustafsson, the first one, I remember. This is what happened to you. It's so weird. My dad was asking me about UFC. He's like, "Oh, who's the best of all time? Who do they consider the best of all time?" Now I'm telling him about John Jones, and I was like, "Let me just go ahead and show you," And so I'm like, "Okay, I know he's won all of his fights. Let me go ahead and throw in a classic, Gustafsson, right?" I put it on. We're sitting there watching it, and my dad, about 2.5 rounds in, he go in there and ask me, "Which one was it again?" And I was like, "Supposed to be the black guy." And he's like, "You sure about that?" And I'm like, I'm pretty sure he wins like almost every single fight. He has one fight that he has lost, but it's a technical loss that because he used elbows, that was a disqualification. But we're watching that fight, and the first 3 rounds of that fight, consistently, Gustafsson pieced him the fuck up. Like, bro, John Jones' face is swollen, bloody.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the second half of the 4th round that John Jones started to put it on him. Even the first half of the 4th round.
I don't remember the. I mean, they say this in every sport out there. Like, don't leave it to the judges. Like at the end of the day, there's like you got you got Joe Rogan, DC, like on the commenting, they give them like their point of view, like who's leading the fight. and then you got you know 10-8, 9-8, whatever, like kind of like where they're at. But at the end of the day, it comes down to the judge's decision on their perception of what is it that they're looking. I think
Yeah.
they should be aligned on what is it that they're like looking for in a fighter. From
And you know what's funny? I've watched fights over again and done this on purpose, because when you, as a person, you can only do so much. You can only focus on so much, right? So when you're watching a fight, usually you're looking at one of them, right? And so you see the strikes being outputted and inputted, but all from one side, right? So I've done this before where you kind of go back and watch a fight and specifically look at one person during that fight, and then go back and watch it again and look at the other one, right? Because during that fight, you're going to be bouncing back and forth, right? But you can never be looking at exactly both of them and seeing everything all together. Usually, not right when you're focusing and trying to judge the fight, right? You need to like look at both, right? And so
but
I
what I'm
feel like
saying
who it is like, where's your focus
but
during
what
the
I'm saying
fight?
is, let's say you're a striker, right? And yeah, you had a couple of significant strikes. Like, yeah, you beat me up with like like 3 really significant strikes. I have my face all beat up and shit. I'm a grappler. Put you on the ground. I had control like 3.5 minutes. So
Where does it weigh out? Things
like,
like
what's
that.
the way out? Like, what
How many strikes to how many seconds or whatever, like
So this is like, okay,
there's no calculated decision there.
this guy was like more dominant because he like pretty much outpaced him on the entire like match. He only had like 30 seconds of like it was a lucky strike, that punch, whatever. So again, this is why don't leave it to the judges. They say that in every possible sport.
Because who knows what variable they're at the end of the day they're taking into more consideration. Because another thing could be, what if we're both strikers, but you're a volume striker and I'm a power striker, right? And on the scorecards, like on the statistic, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
Felix hit him 35 times, right? Oh shit, Eddie only hit him 12. But then when you look at them, you're like, oh shit, Felix is fucked up, and Eddie looks fresh. Like, you know what I mean? So there's damage to take into consideration.
That's
There's
what I'm saying.
statistics,
So like,
there's
what is
mixed
that?
martial arts is so complex and so diverse. Like,
What is actually? I don't know. I don't know if you can Google that. It's like like
there's too many variables.
what are the variables like to actually favor a fighter versus
And you hear them talking about it in the UFC sometimes, like, oh yeah, they've recently they've said that damage needs to play a bigger factor. How does that work? You say bigger factor, but that's so vague, right? And and you leaving that up to interpretation to the judges? Like, they get to decide at the end of the day. Oh, you're giving suggestions on what they should consider more effective.
That's what I'm saying.
But-
And at the end of the day, it's per round.
You
It's
also
per
got
round.
genetics involved when you
So
get to
you
that
can
point.
you can beat the fuck out of me in one round, like, and I'm all like like my face is all messed up.
But then you can take me down, just hold me there for 4 rounds, and then win.
You understand? So it's like, again, is that fair? I don't think it's fair.
No, I don't. Even though I respect wrestling and jiu-jitsu, but if we walk away and you fucked up, can't even walk, but then because you just held me down for 4 minutes around, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair.
Bro,
Who created the most damage?
let me-
It's
let
a
me-
fight, right? Who disabled the
Let me-
other
let me-
person more?
Let me put it this way, bro. I remember like back in the days when I was like going to school, high school. I had this friend of mine, and this friend of mine, he was like perhaps like one of the bravest like people out there. The guy was a fucking beast. He was afraid of nothing. So the guy was, and again I say this because the guy was afraid of nothing. So he went to the who's the leader of the other gang, whatever. And the guy approached like that person, and the guy fucking slapped him. Ah, Tito, ah! Like everybody fucking heard that shit, and I was like, "Fuck! What a fucking slap!" And everybody was talking about the fucking slap. After that slap, that friend of mine got all beat up, all messed up, but nobody talked about like how they beat him up like after that fucking slap. All people were talking about was like that
slap.
fucking slap, how it was like like everybody heard it. It's like, how can you be brave enough to go ahead and hit the toughest guy like in the neighborhood? So what I'm saying here is it's all perception, like what is it that people are looking, judges are looking for, it's like boom, I hit them like hard, like I don't care about anything else. This is what I'm looking for. It's
Another
all about
thing, on the other hand of what we were just saying, oh, it's a fight, damage and how we walked away. On the other hand, it is a sport, right? So if you want to compare it to another sport, 3-point shots from past the 3-point line are all flashy, right, in basketball, and that's what people love to see. But it doesn't matter how many 3-point shots you put up. If I put up double the layups, even though they're not as flashy or whatever it may be, or triple the free throws or quadruple the free throws, I'm still gonna win.
It's the same fucking perception about like who's the greatest of them all, the GOAT of all times in basketball.
Michael Jordan. I don't care what you all say. Michael Jordan is it.
I think it's Michael Jordan also,
Yeah.
But like people have like numbers, statistics, like oh yeah, like LeBron, like.
But
Bro,
then people talk about eras and all this stuff. There's an argument with perception.
You understand? So it's like
Michael
Jordan.
Jordan.
Like what is it that you're taking into consideration? So it's always.
But I also grew up with Michael Jordan, so I'm very biased.
We do.
That's why I wake up 3:00 in the morning in Lithuania just to watch Michael Jordan matches.
I mean, the thing is that it was fun, like watching like Michael Jordan play. Like it was 6 seconds left in the fucking game. The Bulls losing by 1 or 2. Everybody knew like who was the ball was going to be.
And no one
handed
could
to.
stop him.
And the guy, like just made it happen.
Yeah,
it's what it is.
Yeah.
All right, I think we should wrap up though. By the way, it's getting a little late.
By the way, guys, stay tuned. So again, I want to mention some real quick. Our sponsors: UFC Gym St. Peter and Largo, also Vitality 1 and 2 downtown and Largo. But stay tuned for the next episode on Tuesday. I'm bringing in one of my friends, Kevin Asai. He's a super cool guy, super funny too, and he's been big into jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. So he's got both of the worlds, right? Before jiu-jitsu, he was doing kickboxing. So stay tuned for that. We have another guest. And then on Thursday, we have another guest coming in from Russia with Love. We're actually bringing a Russian guy on a podcast. So you're going to hear all sides of the stories.
That'll be interesting. All right. Thank you, Felix, for coming.
Well, thank you guys for inviting me, man. This is my house, and I really feel it feel it that way.
It is.
So thank you for the invitation.
And thank you for coming, bro. It was a fun pod. It went by nice and quick, which always means it was good. Thank you guys for joining us in the chat, and anyone who's watching and supporting us. We appreciate it. Now, see you guys on next week's episode.
Woo!
James couldn't survive in how rough the NBA was in Jordan's era. LeBron James, yeah. He wouldn't survive. There's too many elbows there.